Hello and welcome to Kathy's Corner. My name is Kathy Holt. I am a partner and trainer with Stewardship Resources, LLC. In another video, What is Fund Accounting? You learn the difference between normal accounting programs such as Quickbooks and a fund accounting program. We talked about how PowerChurch Plus, a fund accounting program, will automatically track equity balances for every designated or restricted fund throughout the year. And that's great news because that means you don't have to manually track it on an Excel spreadsheet anymore. We also talked how you can set up different funds, which did not mean separate bank accounts, but instead a separate set of chart of accounts for report printing purposes. In this video, I'm going to go into more detail on how to plan a chart of accounts setup that will track the balance of designated and restricted funds throughout the year, as well as a really cool report you can print with the setup I'm going to explain to you. So let me share my screen. Okay, so the first thing we need to talk about is how the chart of account numbering setup in PowerChurch Plus. So notice there are 2 numbers, then 4 numbers, then 3 numbers. So the first 2 numbers is the fund. So like we talked about last time, you can set up different funds or different chart of account numbers or sets of chart of accounts in PowerChurch Plus. So that would be your first 2 numbers. Your middle numbers is what we call the body, and that depends on what category of chart of account it is. So if the middle 4 numbers start with a 1, it's always an asset. If the middle 4 numbers start with a 2, it's always a liability. If the middle 4 numbers start with a 3, it's always an equity. If the middle 4 numbers start with a 4, it's always an income. If the middle 4 numbers start with a 5 through 8, it's always an expense. Now we're going to talk about the sub number or the last 3 numbers. So by assigning numbers to the last 3 digits or the sub in the chart of account setup, it will allow you to print activity or general ledger reports for every chart of account number that ends in those sub numbers. So the example I'm showing you here is the chart of account numbers that we've set up for the Youth Trips Fund. We've been talking about the Youth Trips Fund on our last 2 videos. So we've got our equity account, and notice the middle 4 numbers is a 3. That goes along with equity. Our income, the middle 4 numbers is a 4. That goes along with income. The middle 4 numbers for our expenses is 7, which is between 5 to 8. 04 fund is our designated fund. We got those covered. What we have added is the sub of 415 to every chart of account item that goes along with our designated Youth Trips Fund. So we've got our equity ends in 415, our income ends in 415, our expense ends in 415. Now remember, I also talked about how you need to make sure that the income closes into the chosen equity. So we've taken the income for our Youth Trips Fund and we've assigned it to close into the equity for Youth Trips Fund. The expense that ends in 415, we've assigned it to close into the equity for 415. So now when you have a setup like this, let me show you the magic that can happen in your printing what we call a sub to sub activity report. So over here, the middle 4 numbers is a 3, that's your equity. The middle 4 numbers is a 4, that's your income. The middle 4 numbers is a 7, that's your expense. So look at this, you've got all of the income that came in for youth trips. You've got the detail from a bake sale and tickets for a youth trip. And then the expense, you've got the detail for that. You paid at fun park, admission to the fun park, and the pizza. You bought pizza for the kids. Okay. Now this equity account, remember this income is set to automatically close into that equity. This expense is automatically set to close into this equity. That's what system generated means. It's not an entry that was made. It's something that just automatically happens. So think about the person that's in charge of the youth trips. And he comes to you and he says, how much do I have in my youth trip fund? Well, like I said last in the last video, if you have all of your entries updated in PowerChurch, you can print this report for that person and see how useful that is. They know that they have $557 left in their youth trip fund. And for June, they know how they brought in money and spent out money in June. So see how handy and how cool this report is? It's one of my favorite parts about a fund accounting program. Okay, so the bottom line is, in a fund accounting program such as PowerChurch Plus, if the chart of accounts is properly set up and used, the program will automatically track designated fund balances for you and allow you to print reports with the details for each designated and restricted fund. It's really cool. So if you're interested in learning more about chart of accounts planning, check out some of the helpful resources that I put in the links below. And it's been a pleasure sharing this information with you today. And as always, if you have any questions or you would like any help, you're more than welcome to call me at the phone number or the email below. Until next time, God bless you and have a fantastic day.